speaking about the draft, you're talking about these players.
Mm-hmm.
Again, now granted, I'm a casual. I just I don't know. When I see like the power rankings or the mock drafts or the people that they say are going to be hot, first round picks, some of them I don't understand. Like, okay, how about like the two dudes from Rutgers?
Okay.
See, I'm sure they're very talented players, and I don't even know if I saw any Rutgers games this year. So I'm just going by what I've read and the talking heads, what I hear on television. But I do know this: Rutgers didn't win anything, and that's the thing that I have a problem. It's like the Ben Simmons thing. Ben Simmons goes number one, and his team doesn't even make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
How are you not going to do that? Well, that blows my mind. Look. When David Robinson was at Navy, at Navy never does anything except for when David Robinson was there. Yeah. I think they made the Sweet 16, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's a player that can make that can change a franchise, that could do something.
Yeah. Steph Curry. Yeah.
Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Those are Davidson. Those are the types of players that I say, okay, I understand. But when you just show me a guy who you keep telling me this guy is talented. But when I'm watching the tournament,
right,
I don't see his team anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't get it. I understand it's a team game. I understand it's a team sport. I do.
Yeah.
But unless you're coming from, I just don't understand. I don't understand the Rutgers guys. I guess that's what I'm saying.
You have a very valid point. I got two ways that I look at both of those from what I see. First of all, you got a guy like Donovan Mitchell. He was at Louisville. Louisville wasn't really winning that year.
Right.
But his talent was immense. You have some guys that come to a school during a down period. And so when Donovan Mitchell went to Louisville and he declared for the draft, some people are like, who? What?
Right, yeah.
And they're like, what you talking about? And what I told people, I said, wait till Summer League. You'll see what's going on with this kid. You'll see why Utah drafted him. Mm-hmm. You got it so that you got players in college who don't necessarily fit college, who aren't used the way that they should be used.
Okay.
In the pros, you have certain players that aren't used the proper way in college that fit perfectly with the scheme in the pros. Tayshaun Prince, when he was at Kentucky, people like, okay, he's a good, decent player, average and all that. But when he got to the NBA, he was the perfect size. 6'8", 7'2" wingspan, defensive hawk, specialist, three-point line. He was a player that could fit in the system that you could use to build a team around. In college, they don't necessarily see it that way. They look at who's their best player, who's their best core player, and try to bring in pieces that fit around them. Also, they try to bring in pieces that they can have for 2 or 3 years. But with the transfer portal, that's not happening anymore.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that's a big question. Like, why don't you see these guys in the NCAA? If they are good, why aren't they at least winning their conference championship?
Well, or not. Well, not even that. Not even that. I'll give you an example because I'm a Maryland alum. I'm a Maryland fan.
Yeah.
You got guys. At least you have guys like say Herter, right? Maryland, but Herter's he's an NBA player. He's not a top round pick, and he's not a change maker, but he's an NBA player. But at least Maryland was going to, to the tournament.
Right.
They were out in the first or second round. They didn't make any noise, but they had 20, 22 wins.
Right.
23 win seasons.
Right.
I'm just like, it seems to me that if these, if you can make it, especially if you're in a good Division I program, I understand that things happen.
Right.
Like you can look at your team again, like, North Carolina can have a down year and have players come out of it, but that's Carolina can come out of that program and make some noise because they're they were probably McDonald's All-Americans.
Yeah, but
You know?
Rutgers ain't Carolina. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Rutgers in
yeah,
Carolina.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just an odd
Yeah,
thing. But
you know what? That's a very good point, because if you look at Steph when he was at Davidson, he made noise and people heard about him. When D Wade was at Marquette, they had a serious run. That showed you how good he was at Marquette. Even and what's my guy's name? Gosh, it was on the tip of my tongue. You got him at Marquette. You had Derrick Rose at Memphis. That's another one. Oh yeah, and you had my man McCollum when he was at Lehigh
right.
and beating Duke. So
Right.
when you say, okay, who is this guy? Why haven't we heard of him? But they made themselves to the tournament, and you heard about him. But there are players like these cats from Louisville. Now, I may be like you. I may be one of those GMs that, okay, if I don't know about these guys, what are the guys out there that are similar to them that actually was able to help a team that made it far in the tournament? How did another guy like that help a team that was winning? Because when you see them with the team that's not winning, you look at what they're doing is right and exceptional, but maybe they get in that place and then you realize they aren't about winning. Like you said, Ben Simmons, the kid's got all the talent in the world, all the ability, everything in the world, but he's not a winner. I think he just doesn't care. I think he's lazy. I think, he feels that he got his money, but maybe not even money, but he's not about the culture of basketball.
Well, I don't think he, there's some, I mean, I think he's just a great athlete that, was blessed with this body and, doesn't really care too much about the sport.
Right.
And which is, it is what it is. I mean, people are going to give him money. He's going to take it. I good for him. But I just
you're like, why this guy? You're like, what did you see to make him the number one pick?
Well, I heard about him. No, I heard about him, going when he went to LSU. That he was this great high school player.
Right.
And that he was going to be this projected number one pick. And people were, I heard some people make the comment that, if it weren't for that, he could have been somebody who could have gone straight to the NBA if they didn't have to go, if he didn't have to do the one and done thing.
Yeah, he would have. He would have.
Yeah.
He would have.
But, it doesn't seem like he really wants to play. Like I see other people, like, let me see, like Lonzo Ball. Okay.
All right.
Lonzo Ball, at first his father was getting on my nerves.
See, you know what? I got it. I'm glad. I want to come back to his father. Go ahead.
Okay, but Lonzo Ball, like him or not, like his father, not any of that.
Yeah.
He strikes me. He and his brothers, the whole family, they strike me as guys that want to play the game.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
You know what I'm
right.
saying? They want to get out there and play. Now, maybe they may not be. I think they're fine as players, as a matter of fact. But they may not live up to somebody's expectations or the hype that preceded them or any of that. But for me, as a fan or as an observer, if I feel like you're going out there giving full effort, and your full effort is just not what everyone thought what it was going to be, I'm not going to give you a strike against that. But if you go out there and just half step, or we know you can do better, you're just not focused, then I have a problem.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people feel, that he doesn't, he's not focused, or he's just giving half-ass, because, Sixers fans, they were tired of him big time. And when you had that situation in the playoffs where he went up and you got Trae Young in front of you and you're a 6'10", 6'11" guard.
Yeah.
Why the hell you passing off and you just dunk on the kid? It got to the point where you're like, what? Is he just out here? You really didn't know what he was doing, or if he was really into the game. So with these two Rutgers guys, I can tell you that they look at them as guys that can be a solid wing, maybe a 3-and-D guy, might be a two-way. But those are the things that they look at. They start looking at the players that are not used properly in the NBA. And Donovan Mitchell is just the best example that you can have.